Houston, our instruments are showing that we have a incoming message from deep space. Repeat, Houston, we have an incoming message from deep space. Houston, we'll begin playing message now. Houston, we're going to try and translate that up here. Hold for translation. Translation complete. We'll begin playing message now.
Hey, it's me, Melissa.
What do you do when the aliens invade? Take a shot of MK Ultra and watch Melissa Jade. Put on your tinfoil hat and tune right in. We got that crime spree, flat earth theories, government conspiracies, a complex Mandela effects, unidentified objects of mind expanding, fake moon landing, what are dolphins understanding? It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa. Aliens is on the sun or in Area 51. Time travels, unravels, haunted castles, cops are baffled, potential experimental thoughts that make you transcendental. It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa. Crime sprees, flat earth theories, government conspiracies, complex Mandela effects, unidentified objects of mind expanding, fake moon landing, what are dolphins understanding? It's me, Melissa. It's me, Melissa.
Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Hi Christina, hippie chick, cutie pie. Welcome Tiger Lily, Destination, Debbie Doodles, Chloe Moon, Kimberly, It's Not Rocket Science Dude, Fragrant Anxiety. Yes, I remember that Tobin, so embarrassing. Hi Skylab, Nicole B, Bogart. Not yet we got shite, and I'm happy that it's not Wednesday yet. Hi. Let me see. Connie, Rhonda, Amy, I will check. Sherry, Shauna. We gobshite. I just like saying that. Hi, Chloe Jade. Ooh, clarifies. I like the addition. Grace on Wheels. Nancy Grape. I like the new photo. In my opinion, allegedly don't come for me. Beach Lover. Wicked Rose. Thank you, Tobeans. Chezzy. Mindy, Kimberly, Victoria, Little Red O, Petunia, Leanne, Fragile Like a Bomb, Edith. Nope, not today. Crime Crochet Cafe. Hey, Sherry. Aaron. Does it, Little Red? Hi, Insta Justice. Samantha. Oh, it's so weird. Hi, Trish. It's so weird. It's still bizarre to me how everyone's in different days and times. Hi, Sarah Bellum. Obsessed with the mess. Bigfoot is real. The woods is lonely. Hi, Riley. Lace Lamont. Grandma Cece. Hi. Hey, Bendy. I see you there. Kelly Nurse. Welcome, guys. So many amazing people here already. Is there two off is in here? Who, Kimberly? New phone, who dis? Hi, Berlinda. We go back the day after Labor Day, but I told you guys that I would not want to go back in August. It's too hot. Hi, Berlinda. Hi, CS. Hi, Shane. So we ended out last night with the morning of day 6. Even though this is part 13, like we're still on only day 6. And it's day 8 when she flips the finger for context purposes. So we have another at least day and a half to get through before, actually, no, about another day before she's going to get in trouble and her swivel chair is going to be taken back. Really, Nancy Grape? Oh, hell no. Hi, Paula. Kate for Big Little Voices. Cheryl. Yeah, the day after Labor Day, we got shite. Same here. I meant, is there two of us in here? Oh, no. New phone who does. It is finger day any day now. What? That escalated quickly. What's finger day? Not at all. Michelle, why would I be mad at you? There's numerous Michelles in here, so I apologize if it doesn't seem like I was saying directly hi to you. The bird. Oh, I got it. Okay. So yeah, that's what she said, Bigfoot. So we have the second half of day 6 to start. We have a new witness up on the stand. Yesterday we didn't have anything super big. More so the movements of Letecia when she rented the van. We had the rental guy come up and testify that it was indeed Letecia. We had, I'm sorry, because I'm looking for my missing child. We had who else did we have? We had like 2 of the rental guys. Then we had the digital forensic with Al's phone and Harley's phone. So I think we're getting close to the Google searches, if I'm not mistaken. So I very much look forward to that. Hi, Carrie. Hey, Harlot people me. Okay. So our missing child for tonight's live stream is Michael Vaughn, Monkey. Michael has been missing since July 27th, 2021 out of Fruitland, Idaho. He'd be 8 years old. He was last seen on July 27th, and he was last known to be wearing a light blue t-shirt with the Minecraft logo on it, dark blue boxer briefs, and sandals. So if you or anyone you know has information on his whereabouts, please contact the Fruitland Police Department in Idaho at the number located in blue. Hi, Creative Minds. Okay, Lee the Bee, please drive safe. Hi, Becky. I've never honestly, Bendy, that's why I want to continue to look into the borderline personality disorder, because there has to be, that's not normal. What she was doing with those Google searches was not normal. And I'm curious for someone far more educated than me and that could explain to us what they think the purpose of her, because I think it goes more than just looking for a Google search, right? She was just documenting her feelings basically and venting. And I'm curious what an expert would say or a professional would say about what do they think she was doing in those moments that she was rage Googling. You know what I mean? Right. Asking Google if Al was it's there's something more to that. And I'd be curious to have someone very educated explain it to me. Maybe, Erin, it was just almost like she was complaining nonstop. She had to be in control. She was absolutely has narcissistic personalities, in my unprofessional opinion. But we know that is what she was ultimately diagnosed with, right? Borderline personality disorder with narcissistic tendencies. And she does fit a lot of the characteristics for BPD. But it's so, anybody in their right state of mind, I feel it wouldn't do that. She was venting to Google. It's just so bizarre. Oh, Amy, that's awesome. I very much look forward to reading that, and maybe we could get you on. That'd be awesome. I'll look into that. Grace on Wheels. Hi, Sunshine Mafia. Well, in the case, so she was even in her notes section, she was writing out messages and stuff. I've never seen anything like it. Hi, Tucker News Mom. I've never seen anything like it. And then also in the aspect of you're leaving a fucking trail. You're literally leaving, I'm not going to say breadcrumbs. She was eating a loaf of Wonder Bread behind her. Thank you, Crying. We have a baby. It's Tisha, of course, her Google isn't normal. That is true, Crying Crochet. And thank you so much for 9 months of support. We have a baby. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm sure Google ain't got time for that. I have been curious to like look at some of the things like she's Googled and see what comes up, because I don't know what she was getting out of it. Those and hi, Cat Mom. Those Google searches had nothing to do with borderline PD. I think it's just that she was never educated on what Google is for. It's not that I think it has something to do with BPD versus her personality, right? And symptoms maybe of it. And was there something that she was getting from those Google searches, whether it was just raging and feeling like she needed to vent, so it really wasn't a Google search, versus getting her frustrations out, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's just so bizarre. It's so bizarre. Maybe, yeah, trying to emotionally regulate. Right. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Keith. Yeah, we're on the second half of day 6. So we're getting close, guys. We're getting close. All right, so let me pull this up. But like, did it, Riley? Did Google validate her feelings? Because she was talking very personal on Google. What the fuck is Google gonna suggest? Melly Lynn. That's funny. All right, so I'm playing this from Recovery Addicts channel. Their link is in the description of this live, along with Ali and Bendy's. They're always in the links for their channels are always in the descriptions of the live, and I will drop it throughout. I just know that his channel is safe to play it from because he has all of the explicit things redacted. So day 7 was the Bethel interview with the hit. Oh my goodness. All right, well, that's tomorrow. We're on the second half of day 6. So we're about to get into some interesting. I can't wait for gruesing. You speak to Alexa. Yeah, but that's like different, because you're supposed to speak out loud to her and you can ask funny questions. But the things that she was searching was just, I don't know. So, all right. So let's see who our first witness is up for the day. We already see Letecia and Tortellini. Hi, Roro. In the bottom right corner, giggling. Tortellini is red as usual. And yeah, let's get right into it.
Sound effects, just so we can focus on the testimony that's going to be offered today. Mrs. R.A. is very smart. I married Outcast.
When they're, I don't want to think of
here.
Can't seem to actually find it.
Prosecution, call your next witness.
Your Honor, the next witness is John Watson.
Last name again?
John Watson.
Watson.
Crazy.
Step forward. You swear affirm the testimony about to give this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Look at her cracking up.
Seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Yeah, look at those.
That's about 500 subscribers a day right now, which is higher than normal.
Ms. Gratiano.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Maybe you can settle debate for us. Can you state your last name, your first name and your last name for the record?
John Wadden,
Thank you. And where are you employed?
Avis Budget Group.
And under the umbrella of Avis, what does Avis do?
So Avis is one of the premier rental car brands.
Okay, so we're
You
still
may be
on the
familiar
rental
with
car.
Avis.
I'm gonna jump a little bit, just to see if this is anything important. I see he's on the stand for a while, so I'm just gonna jump through the protocol questions to get to like the meat and potatoes. Hi, Katie.
And also budget truck rentals.
And
He's
when we're
big.
talking about rentals specific to budget, what kind of rentals are we talking about? Exhibit 239 there?
I
If
have
you-
24015
It does sound like
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
rental contract.
okay. And so that particular asset is what again?
It's a budget truck rental contract.
Okay.
Glad you popped out.
And each asset, if you will, a truck that budget would rent out, is there a particular identifier number that is assigned to a vehicle?
Okay.
Exhibit 239. Can you tell what vehicle number budget assigned that particular asset?
So what they're doing now, so what I'm jumping again, it's not really anything. And when I say significant, I'm talking about going over for like the second time. He is just confirming that this is indeed the rental truck that was leased out to Letecia for this trip and how they identify it and things like that.
So, okay. Can you explain budget and the many other entities that are in the Avis company and how
As
they're different
Role for the last
to tracking, locating, protecting its assets, specifically rental trucks?
Hi, Homer.
What kind of resources do you have there?
We just started, Homer.
we have GPS devices that we use on our vehicles.
He was
Um,
tracked,
Not that we
Johnny.
want to track every rental customer, because we don't do that, right? But if we have a vehicle that is missing,
at her
abandoned,
laughing.
or it's reported stolen, then we would want to use our
Fun on it,
GPS
yeah.
devices to try to locate that vehicle.
Okay. And in terms of access that you have to that information, is that part of your job role and responsibility?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with what has been marked as People's Exhibit 292.
You may go ahead.
You may approach.
here today.
Juan, I'll ask you to take a moment to familiarize yourself with People's Exhibit 292.
You too, Dana. We're glad that you're with us. Dude, she was double tracked, Brona. Double tracked. They were always a step
fine.
behind.
Do you generally recognize what that is?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
Take care, girl.
This is a report that when I want to track a vehicle, I go onto a website who's our partner, which is a company called AirIQ. And I have the ability to track cars and trucks through this system.
Can you sissy mom?
I can do live searches for a vehicle, and I can also receive historical information on a
Sissy
vehicle.
mom. Please,
And
God.
with the relationship, with
Yes,
partnership
God.
we have with the company, our service plan, we receive 4 historical pings every day. So if I'm not looking for a vehicle,
Oh, no,
I receive a
Lisa.
historical ping. One at 6 o'clock in the morning, one at noon, one at midnight. One at 6 p.m. and
You
one
should
at,
be able to
one at
click this
midnight.
link.
This report is showing those historical pings. And there's also an additional GPS
Right here, Lisa.
ping or hit on the vehicle,
Me.
which is called a power up. And that is just
we
a
don't
health
discriminate.
check from the company, from AirIQ, reaching out to its GPS device.
Okay.
There's a number of pages in front of you there.
Tell us about Letecia.
Do those pages accurately represent the GPS information, historical information that you were able to pull from that particular asset? So I counted a total of 12 pages.
This is what I pulled per the production order of records that I was asked to produce. This is what I pulled, 12 pages.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, we would move to admit People's Exhibit 292.
Hence. Exhibit 292 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Sir, you explained that there's an asset number that's associated with the rental agreement that you just looked at, People's Exhibit 239. I'll have that projected behind you.
Okay. Ew, look at her.
And just so the jury can see what you were reading off of, you talked about vehicle information, a vehicle identification number that budget's assigned to this particular truck. Can you point to the jury where that appears
Oh, Lisa.
on the screen behind you?
Oh, leave it be. You're so sweet.
This right here is the truck number, 911739.
Great. And Your Honor, permission to publish People's Exhibit 292. Mr. Watton, we're going to project behind you People's Exhibit 292, and it will be the first page of those 12.
Hey, Allie. You guys let me know. Do you want me to kind of like jump through it? I'm pretty sure he's going to take us through the exact movements of the truck which we do know, like we know she stopped state to state, stayed at the hotel overnight with Harley. But let me know if you guys want me to stay with it. Jump. Okay. So let me see.
So it's small, but we'll through 13. And are those all the same location?
Yeah, it's just going to
Colorado
go
time.
through her locations.
It's hard to.
Yeah, sorry.
Bless his
The
heart.
same as the prior location, 601 West Thompson Street, Decatur, Texas.
Okay. Now, as we move forward.
Oh, he's on for a while. Yeah, they go through all of her movements, which is to be expected.
Homestown Road Garden.
Court reporter, please. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Let's just get, let's
Prosecution,
get
next witness, please.
We would call John Grassel to the stand, Your Honor.
Grassel.
I swear, if we have another rental
I know.
representative
Luckily,
up
we
here,
get to jump
my
through
head's
it.
gonna explode. There's just too many dates.
Mr.
and
Grassel,
cars.
if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, sir. Play a little closer.
Come on,
Everybody does it. That's
Grassel.
okay. You swear affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing.
Okay. Let's see.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Grassel. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, sir.
Could you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for the record?
My name is John Grassel, Grassel.
And do you have an occupation at this time?
Yes,
What is that?
I am a senior manager at Research Triangle Institute, which is a research company based in North Carolina.
Triangles.
And did you retire from a law enforcement agency?
Yes, I am retired detective lieutenant from the Rhode Island State Police.
What the heck is someone from Rhode Island doing in Colorado testifying in a murder case? We're going to get there. Were you working for the Rhode Island, was it state police back in January of 2020?
Yes,
And did you have an occasion to perform a analysis on a budget rental car truck that's related to this case back on March 26th of 2020?
Damn truck rentals. Hi,
Yes.
Gina.
What did you know prior to doing a search and examination of this vehicle
Hey, Marianne.
about this case?
I was given a signed search warrant on the 30th of March 2020, which gave some details in reference to this case.
Okay.
And what were the details that you
Chris.
remember?
The details were of a reported crime, and then for the vehicle, this vehicle, Ford van that was used
Okay.
to transport
They're gonna go through
a body
photos.
for a crime, and then the van ended up into Rhode Island. It was a rental van.
Okay, look. I'm jumping through the photos.
Searched and processed this. The vehicle is in.
This is the van that Letecia drove with Harley with Gannon's body in the back. So I want you guys to see the photos.
Inside of the vehicle examination bay at the Rhode Island State Police headquarters.
We can go to 295, please. What do we see in 295?
She left items behind.
This is the
guys.
interior of the vehicle, and it's the mostly showing the front passenger.
Now, why I think this is important is just know for, Kathy, just remember for Harley's testimony, and I know one of the biggest questions, right, is how Harley did not smell anything for all of those days they were traveling in this vehicle. So I'm a visual person. Looking at the exact rental that they were in definitely helps. and understanding that it wasn't one that you could see through to the back from the front. So I just want you to look at it.
Passenger side, with the door open.
Dog toys.
Are these the
Brona.
only two seats in that vehicle?
Yes.
296? What do we see in 296?
She always does.
296 is, this is a divider that separates the occupant area from the cargo area of the van.
And are those holes within that divider?
Yes.
Is there access to get to the back from the driver's cab area through those dividers? Do they open?
Yes.
Is it a door or what is it?
It's a door.
Okay. We can go to 297 now. What do we see in 297?
This is the view from the slider door is open on the passenger side, and so the photograph shows the view of the rear, interior rear of the van, and then at the back of the photograph are the two doors, the two rear doors, which are closed.
And what kind of material is the bottom area of this cab area that we see here?
I just really want you guys to look at the
And
photos.
this photograph is showing the rear doors, which are closed, so it's inside looking towards the back of the van.
Are there any windows in the cargo area of this van?
No. This photograph was taken with the rear doors open, facing towards the front of the van, the separated divider between the cargo portion and the occupant portion.
Are those the doors you alluded to earlier that we see in the center of the picture?
Yes, that's that's how you can access the cargo part of the van from the passenger part.
And does those doors open from both sides, or do you know?
Not certain.
Yeah, it feels
Okay.
pretty big, right?
We can go to 300. What do we see in 300?
300 is angle. The photograph is angled to show the majority of that floor section in the rear of the van.
Hey, Christopher.
301?
No, obsessed.
What do we see in 301?
So 301 is from inside of the van, facing the cargo doors, which lead to the passenger side.
Can we zoom in on that handle to see what it looks like? So can you describe the handle to these cargo doors?
It's like
recollection.
it's like a little latch, so you can. It just opens.
Hmm.
Do you know whether or not there's a latch on the other side?
There is. Yeah, there's a handle on the other side.
All right.
Wow, Kimberly.
We go to 302 now. What do we see in People's Exhibit 302?
Tell us.
So 302 is a close-up
Oh,
of
more
a,
luggage, I am
like an
sure.
animal toy. that
Dog
was
toys.
underneath the front passenger.
Because she wasn't just traveling with Harley and Gannon's body in the back. They had the two dogs. And Letecia gave those dogs gummies to chill out.
Seat.
And we see a placard there with the number 14. Can you tell the jury what that is?
So each time the evidence was taken from the vehicle, we took a number. So placard 14 represents this is evidence number 14.
Hey, Boho.
We can go to 303 now.
Brona, his body was frozen initially from being outside. So I feel like it does take a while for a body to thaw out. You know, I don't know how to say it, but the smell is a question, and you're going to hear Harley get questioned about that on the stand. That sounds delicious, Aaron. And Harley explains that her mom kept the air conditioner blasting the entire time. But yeah, when they stayed at the hotels at night, that van stayed parked overnight outside. You know, yeah, she did, Harlot. She did.
What do we see in 303?
We took the dog toy out from underneath the seat because you couldn't really see it well in the photograph. So this is the dog toy up next to the placard.
And did you collect that? Looks
Yeah.
like a dog bone or something, a rubber dog
Yeah,
bone.
it's like a rubber dog toy bone.
We can go to People's Exhibit 304. What do we see in 304?
304 is the inside of the glove box, which is right in front of the front passenger seat.
And did you collect a Verizon phone calling card?
It was parked overnight. I am Shiny Popstar because she didn't make it to Florida initially. They had stayed at a couple of hotels before the last hotel in Florida when ultimately she left in the middle of the night and dumped Gannon's body off the overpass, but they stopped along the way.
Card from this glove box?
Yes.
Using People's Exhibit 304, there's a pointer up there somewhere. It's old school pointer. It's like a
Red handle to your left.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
Can you
especially
point out if we
Texas,
can
right?
see part of the Verizon calling card in this photograph?
The tip just
Good pointer.
Hey,
You're not the
Monica.
first one, so,
That's a good point,
Thanks.
Monica.
we can go to 305. Now, what do we see in 305?
305 is the front side of that Verizon prepaid like phone card.
And again, this
She
would be
left her damn
placard 16.
phone card.
Yes.
And is that
she's
correlated in your report? When
she is the dumbest motherfucking murderer. Like, listen, I don't ever like if you are going to do something like this, you would think you'd be smart enough. Let me scope this van and make sure that there is absolutely nothing in here when I leave. She didn't even put any effort in. That's the crazy part. Yeah,
you're
it was
discussing
Natasha.
evidentiary
Yep.
items.
Yes.
Okay. If we can go to 306. What do we see in 306?
The 306 is the rear side of that Verizon phone card.
And does it have identifying information with regards to that phone card where someone may be able to go back and track that phone card to a particular phone?
Yes.
Yes,
Did you
they
do that?
did.
I did not.
Were you asked to do that?
No.
Okay. Now, you mentioned applying some chemical to the back of the van. Why did you do that, and what was the chemical device?
You have to remember. Letecia, we had the hotel young woman come up and testify already. Letecia did not write down that because when you stay at the hotel, you're supposed to write down what vehicle you have. She was writing Aunt Brenda's vehicle down. She was not writing the Avis truck. Hi, Cherokee girl. Hi, Court.
Used for?
So there were numerous stains that we noted throughout the interior of the van, and to include the rear of the van.
Yeah, Court.
And so in this particular one, we used two different chemicals. We used Hemastix and we used Blue Star.
Hey, Shelly B.
Let's talk about Blue Star. What is Blue Star designed to do?
Blue Star is a presumptive test for blood.
We're going to
So
get
it
into all of
reacts,
that with another
causes a
witness.
reaction if there are blood, but it's a presumptive test, so it may not be blood, but it would react and it causes a color change.
Ain't that the truth?
And is
Lisa
that
baby?
used in
Black
your prior field, for instance, to see whether or not areas of the van should be swapped with Blue Star design to pull?
Lead
We'll get into
lead
all the Blue Star stuff when it
is a
comes
color
to
change which goes to a bluish color.
So when they spray the Blue Star, it's a preemptive blood test. So if it has the protein that is in blood, it can't say that it isn't indeed blood, but more times than not, it's blood. It will illuminate blue. Hi, Anjala.
Why don't we go to People's Exhibit 307 now? So what do we see in People's Exhibit 307?
We had cut a portion of the rear floor mat out subsequent to testing.
And why did you cut this portion out?
Areas of this portion we noted had a colored reaction, so a positive reaction
Had a
when
positive
Blue Star was
reaction.
applied.
And so just for context, in People's Exhibit 307, what are we seeing here? What area of this
Tiffany.
rubber mat that you described earlier are we talking about in the cargo area?
So it would be the area directly behind where the driver is, extending to over halfway towards where the passenger would sit, and then towards the rear of the vehicle.
We can go to 308 now. What do we see in People's Exhibit 308?
So 308 is the cutout section, and you could it's discolored because that the darker portion is still wet from where we applied the Blue Star.
And you labeled that with placard 17?
Yes.
Now, did you or someone from your agency ship this to Colorado for further analysis?
Yes.
Why don't we go to People's Exhibit 309 now? What are we seeing in People's Exhibit 309?
309 is some of that color change that's noted when the Blue
Look
Star
at
was
that.
applied.
Look at that. This is in the van. Look at that Blue Star. So that's Blue Star, guys. That is how it illuminates to the preemptive blood tests. So look at that. Look at it illuminating.
The mat in the rear of the cargo area.
And so is this the area that we just talked about that you cut out based on, I assume, this photograph?
Yes.
And is that what Blue Star would react to for presumptive or iron or blood?
Yes.
And yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, Becky, is that he was moved multiple times. This van, nothing occurred in this van other than her putting the suitcase in with Dakota and her family there, traveled for days, and then removed it and ditched it. So that is a significant amount of blood that is illuminating for just being in the back of the van traveling.
Did you also send the Verizon card and this rubber dog bone to Colorado as well?
Yes.
Hey, Michelle.
Have a moment, Your Honor.
Me?
Okay, so this is, I mean, there
We're gonna
was
see a
like
lot of
visible
Those are my
blood
questions. Thanks.
onto the floor. around.
Cross-examination?
All right, cross-examination.
Good, sir.
How's your trip?
It was fine. Thank you.
Fine. You get in last night or today?
I got in yesterday.
Yesterday, okay. So, do you know how this van, do you know how to get to Rhode Island?
I'm not sure how it got to Rhode Island. I know it was
Hey,
seized,
Kyle.
how it got to my agency.
Sure, but you don't know how it got from South Carolina to Rhode Island?
I do not.
Do you know how many people had rented that van in between when it was dropped off in South Carolina and when between you looked at it?
No.
And you guys are kind of, you guys are assisting some other agencies in this investigation.
Yes.
I mean, there was nothing to indicate that any of this crime took place in the state of Rhode Island.
That's correct.
And you basically got a call from the FBI asking if you guys could help out.
That's correct.
And one thing, because it was in Rhode Island, then you guys had to do a search warrant to a Rhode Island judge.
Yes.
Did you assist in doing that search warrant, or was that done by somebody else?
That was done by someone else.
Okay. Did
Right,
you review
Rona?
that search warrant?
No.
Okay. And then as whether or not there was blood or whatever in that van and whose blood that might have been, that wasn't something for you to figure out. That was then, let me rephrase it.
Yeah, Tortellini, chill out and go into a fucking pot of boiling water, will you? Listen, if you're trying to argue that conveniently someone else may have rented the van after Letecia before they got to it, and you want us to believe that blood actually came from something else other than the suitcase with Gannon's body in it, come on, Tortellini. You got to do better than that.
That was a bad question. To see if that was blood or whose blood that might have been and what you did, you ship that off to Colorado and let them, so they can run whatever test to make that determination.
That's correct.
You right now have no idea if that actually was blood or whose blood that might have been.
That's correct.
No further questions.
Redirect.
Oh, thank you.
No
Do any of the
redirect.
jurors have any questions for Mr.
Jury
Kressel?
questions?
All right. Thank you, sir. You may
All right,
step down.
next
Watch your step.
witness.
Step down.
We're going to get into a lot of the Blue Star stuff.
Counsel, if you would retrieve the exhibits for the court reporter, please. And prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Who we got?
Your Honor, Catherine Beckel.
Bethel? Bethel?
Lots of shuffling around at the courtroom right now. Looks like that's what's happening on the defense table.
No.
Ms. Bethel, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, ma'am. You swear affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Oh, she looks so pretty.
Good afternoon.
Right.
Would you state your name for the record?
Catherine Beckel.
Oh,
And in
I thought she looked different. No, that's not Bethel. That's Beckel. It was close. I thought she looked very different. I'm like, damn, look how pretty she looks. Beckel. Beckel. Yeah, Shelly Beans. I kind of jumped the gun there. I thought I heard Bethel. It's Beckel. Shit. I got so excited.
2020, February of 2020, January of 2020, where did you work?
I was a dispatcher at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office.
And how long were you a dispatcher for?
At that point in time, approximately 2 years.
And in terms of the role of a dispatcher, can you explain generally what a dispatcher does to the jury?
Yeah. As dispatcher, we handle all the incoming 911 and non-emergent calls,
We all were. Hey,
gather
Lily's
all
Corner.
necessary information for that call, and then dispatch out the appropriate response, whether that be law, fire, medical.
Right? I was
And
like,
in
so
terms
different.
of distinguishing between emergency calls versus non-emergency calls, how did that process work?
Oh, Michelle.
Well, normally the emergency calls would come in on 911. Given the information that we receive would kind of classify if that was an emergency or not, whether that did need
Whippets.
an immediate response. We'd handle everything on 911 for the most part, unless it needed kind of a lengthier phone
Right.
call.
So if a person calls into 911 and the dispatcher determines that it's really a non-emergent call, what do?
We tell them to call back on the non-emergent number. That way we're not tying up a 911 line, and still get them the help that they need, but without tying up the line for people that did have an emergency.
And you give them particular non-emergent telephone number to the caller?
Correct. Yeah, we always get that to them.
Okay. In terms of then also triaging calls, how is a call placed into 911? How is that call categorized? Where does that information come from?
So it's based on the information that we receive, what the caller is stating is going on, and then we put it in our call screen.
Witness 33 of 149. Did you see that? 149 witnesses. This is witness number 33. You want to know how many defense had? 2.
Screens, a length or a lot of different call types that it could be. And based on those call
Way to
types is
go.
what decides the priority of the call. So it's all kind of set in our computer system.
Okay. And in terms of being on duty on February 27th of 2020, were you working that day?
Yes, I was.
You're on a permission to approach with what has been marked as People's Exhibit 208 and 209.
You may go ahead.
We probably will get the 911 call in.
Ms. Beckel, if you can take a moment to familiarize yourself with People's Exhibit 208 and 209. Do you recognize those?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize them?
From authenticating the call.
Okay, and we'll start with People's Exhibit 208. What is that? Did you have an opportunity to review what was on People's Exhibit 208?
Yes, I did. That was the original 911 call that was placed first.
Okay. And People's Exhibit 209, what is that?
That is the non-emergent call from when we told the caller to call back on the non-emergent line.
Okay. And to be clear, are you the call taker, or sorry, the dispatcher that's receiving both calls?
No, I received the non-emergent call. Another dispatcher took the original 911 call.
Okay. And you explained that as a receiving information that comes through on that emergency line, certain bits of information taken via the caller and the dispatcher asked that person for some basic information. Is that right? And so some of that basic information, would that also include asking the caller to identify themselves?
Yes.
Okay. So in People's Exhibit 208, when you listen to that, was there an identification made in People's 208 and
Yes.
209 that are the same name as
Yes.
the caller? And when you listen to People's Exhibit 208 and 209, do you recognize the person who's calling into those lines? Do you recognize that voice?
I'm sorry, do I recognize it like personally or from the?
Well, when you listed Exhibit 209, you said that that was a call that you were on.
Yes.
And when you listen to that call in relation to Exhibit 208, is the caller calling into those lines? Does that appear to be the same voice when you listen to both of those exhibits?
Yes.
Yeah, she absolutely appears to be covering her ears because poor Linda, she covers her ears any time her own voice is being played. I've mentioned that multiple times now going through. We're on part 13. We have noticed anytime they are showing any evidence, the autopsy photos, anything with blood, anything with the house, Letecia is looking directly at that screen. No reaction. She's smirking, laughing. If you are playing Letecia's own words, she covers her fucking ears. It's actually very fascinating the different reactions we see from her as the defendant, when you would expect the more brutal stuff, the horrible, that she wouldn't be able to, we're all turning away, yet she's looking fascinated at her work. You play her own words, she covers her ears. Thank you, Science Sense, for this super sticker. That's so kind, so appreciated. Thank you so much. Right, Queen Bella, she doesn't want to hear her own words.
Yes.
Okay. And in terms, again, as you've testified, the person calling in identified as the same name for both calls?
Yes.
And what was the name that that caller identified in both
Cookie
Exhibit
Mom.
208 and 209?
Tisha.
Last name?
No.
Thank you. And People's Exhibit 208 and 209, is that an accurate representation of the calls that were placed to the emergent line and the non-emergent line?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, we would move for admission of People's Exhibit 208 and 209.
Defense, Exhibit
Okay,
208 and
let's
209.
see.
You may, this is
As a seasoned call taker with over 2 years of experience with the Sheriff's Office, you had an opportunity to both listen to these calls and in the hallway. And I'll ask you some questions about that after we listen to these exhibits, okay? At this time, we'll publish People's Exhibit 208.
Ladies, these people got what is the description of your emergency? Well, 6627 Mandan Drive, Colorado Springs. Okay, say that one more time, make sure I have this here correctly. 627 Mandan Drive. Okay, the phone number you're calling. 843 7460. Your name?
Hi, I love me some head.
I don't know if I'm serving on emergency or non-emergency. Sorry, I can barely talk, but my son was going to be on at 6 o'clock and it's under 7. So, like, all his friends' house, he said he was going to be at his friend's house, and they said he wasn't there, and the other one said he never came there. So I don't know any other people calling out, and I talked to my husband, so I told him I had to call you guys as fast as I could because
she's covering her
I don't
ears.
know anyone else here. He's and I don't know if there's like a time limit.
Look,
like,
fingers.
He's only 11.
Oh,
11.
thank you for being here, Science Sense. She like legit has her feet, like watch her. She legit puts her fingers in, you know how you can press your earlobe, like, I don't know, like whatever that thing is, like into your ear to like block the sound. But the fucking autopsy, she's staring, she's laughing. That's so crazy.
Okay.
Snacks out of her hair.
For me?
Right, Gen X girl?
U-O-N. Last name? Stauch. S-T-A-U-C-H. Okay. That's a brain, guys. I got it covered. I can barely write. Oh. Right. Since I have it, I'm going to give you, we have multiple questions we have to ask you. We don't want to tie up an emergency device. I'm going to give you our non-emergency. That's fine. That's why I didn't know which number to call and say that. Yeah, okay. Let me know when you're ready for that number.
Exactly.
Okay, go ahead. One time. You need to see the phone. 490 390 5555. 5555. Okay. You're welcome. I call that now.
Right, Bendy?
Call Bill.
That's why I'm enjoying going through this for the second time, because I'm, you know, the first time it's just like, oh, you know, like you're just overwhelmed with everything happening. Now I'm like paying attention to the more of the detail of what she's doing. And every time, we're on part 13 right now, every time they play her own voice, her own words, she's head down, covering her ears. But all of the really details of the murder, autopsy photos, anything that we a normal person are like turning away, she is giggling, she is attentive, she does not look down. It's bizarre.
So back to where we left off. I think
And for the record, Your Honor, that was People's Exhibit 208, 2 minutes and 20 seconds in length.
All right.
At this time, we'll publish People's Exhibit 209.
Part of the problem is the audio in the courtroom has a
Can I
noise
get
gate.
past this? Can I help you? Hi there. I called 911, and they said I had to call this number because my 11-year-old son was supposed to come home at 6, but he didn't. I know it's only 7, like we went to both of friend's house, and they said he wasn't there, and it's kind of like feeding and stuff. I was like, Mandan Drive, in front of 627 Mandan. Mandan, M-A-N-D-A-N.
The way she scratches her head. You ever see a Breakfast Club? And the way that Allison scratches her hair to add the dandruff. If you know, you know, okay? The way that she scratches her head and adds the dandruff. You know what I mean? That's what I anticipate being on the table in front of her. Just those fucking dandruff flakes.
What is your son's name? I'm sorry, what? What is your son's name? Gannon? G-A-N-N-O.
Yeah, the fucking flakes.
Melanie.
Yeah, Ali Sheening. Yep, Melanie.
And what was your last name?
Scooby.
Maybe around like, what time did you guys get off the phone? 3:30 maybe? 3:30, between 3:34 and he was supposed to be back home at 6. So we let him all the time, like go to the neighbor's house. His house, they ride bikes, do everything together. No.
Thank you to that person. Thank you.
But I mean, that's kind of like something parents call in, but not friends.
Oh my God, Benny, that must have been terrifying.
Why? Oh my God. Oh, I don't know. Hold on.
Now, please keep in mind, this isn't even 2 hours after the murder. not even two, like, so it's very interesting to hear even how she's able to talk and construct sentences, and it, Jesus. Me too, Roro. I love the whole
No, I'm sorry. I really do. I 4 foot. Hey, much does it weigh? 90 pounds. What's up, hair color? His eye color. What's the complexion? Fair. Latino? No. Um, 92908. Sorry, my hands are shaking. I'm freaking out. Okay. You know what social security number? Not off the top of my head. It's in the house. That's week. It's no. Was it piercing? No. No. Any glasses?
Me too, Melanie.
No, no glasses. I mean, unless you left with his shades on, but I mean, we don't have glasses. What was he wearing today? He had on a blue jacket, zipped up. Blue and shoes, tennis shoes. He plays Vyvanse every day. I'm sorry, what was that? He plays Vyvanse for ADHD every day.
Every day, Letecia? You sure about that?
Medical, mental, physical disabilities. No, I mean, he just sees a counselor for mental health for the ADHD, but that's it. Is alcohol or drugs? No. Injuries? No. Physical attributes? Anything unique? No, just white boy down here. Eyes. Yeah. Yeah. Because you have a he does, but we haven't found it in the house yet, so we're not sure if he had it. You know, he was using it earlier today. Hold on. Daughter's calling me. I'll give it in a minute because she went looking at the parts. All right, let's see. Okay, you didn't find in there. That's what I want to make sure before I had you doing all this. 843 04 7 HNP. And you know, is it equipped with a tracker? It should be.
It's just awful recording.
Your mom is such mom. Okay. Yes. He lives with us, mom and dad. What is your email address? It's EEIA and then LYNN 2006 at yahoo.com. That's another to make sure I have it right. Word Charles them Young Nora 2006 at Yahoo. No, but last night, so there were some things happened last night, and today, weird with my husband, we can tell him the officer about or whatever, but I don't know that would have been anything he would have been worried about. He's never been in trouble, straight A student. Okay, so are there any specific circumstances? My husband messaged me earlier in the day and said something like, he was asking about some friends want to play games, and then he started asking him about what was bath salt. Was like, tell him how bad bath salt was and explain that. Asking him earlier, so that was the only thing that was pretty weird at all.
Yes, with it, Taylin. Ooh.
Taking a look at him.
Edith,
We went to the
I'm sure someone in the chat is going to know. I don't particularly know, but I'm going to stop to ask. Hi, Vibe and Jibin. If anybody knows what happens to relieve the pain of a wasp sting, please put your suggestions in the chat for Edith's daughter. She got stung and is in a lot of pain. We need those mom methods. You know, we know you guys got them down there.
neighbor's house that he always plays with that we know pretty well. We went to the other neighbor's house. My daughter just went to Stingray Park and he's not there.
Tobacco? Like on it?
Not that I'm aware of. Okay. And who's not him?
Wet tobacco. Interesting.
I guess me. Where was he? He was in the house and I was working out and working every day. They have to play outside so many hours when it's nice before they get technology, and that was what he was supposed to be doing. Okay. When you asked, was he on foot or did he have a bike to skateboard with him? Well, his bike is here.
Okay, so a lot of people are saying like wet tobacco. Like a lot of people are saying tobacco. A tea bag, baking soda. Hi, Caleb. If you happen to like, are you guys, and I know I'm gonna sound stupid, are you talking about like break open a cigarette and take the tobacco out, like type of deal? I don't know what other type of tobacco. Yeah, right, Vibe and Jive, and I didn't know that. I knew this chat would know the answers. Jennifer said that she had just got stung yesterday and used tobacco and it helps a lot. So obviously, like, yeah, the Benadryl and Tylenol, but as far as putting on it, chewing tobacco, baking soda. Okay. That's interesting. That's very, very witch hazel. It's very interesting. Baking soda paste with water. So mix some baking soda with water, kind of slide it on. Ice for the swelling, yeah.
Okay. This is how the skates work. Yeah, not here.
Oh, thank you, Chloe Moon. That's interesting. Hi, Kim.
Was he with anyone when he left? I don't know that. I was in the house. And my husband let them, walk around the neighborhood with the rest of the kids and things like that. So they didn't even know we needed that. I had to call him to get them their address. Is he on to carry any weapons? No, not that I'm aware of. No, I don't think so.
Hey, Lulu.
Once and I'm still on this. No.
Of course, I hope she feels better.
I'm not here to make contact. Okay. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. Okay.
That was awful. The noise gate in the courtroom is part of the problem.
Record, that was People's Exhibit 209.
You guys
that was
are
8
the
minutes
best.
and
Thank
7
you.
seconds long.
All right.
Ms. Beckel, in terms of your work with the Sheriff's Department, being a dispatcher, receiving calls for service, have you received calls for service similar in subject matter to this?
Yes.
Okay. And over the course, how many similar type of subject matter related calls would you estimate that you'd received?
That's hard to put a number on, probably upward of 50.
Okay. In terms of being on those calls with a reporting party, a parent, for example, how would you describe the demeanor of the person identified themselves as Letecia Stauch on those phone calls?
Normally, if we had a child of that age that hasn't run away before, I would expect a little more, be scared a little more anxiety over the issue. But it seems in par for all other runaway calls that we normally take for older aged children.
So comparing, again, the calls that you've been on when you receive reports of a missing child, was this similar or dissimilar?
It's similar.
It was similar?
Mm-hmm.
The tone of the caller's voice was similar?
Objection, ask and answer.
Overruled. We'll go ahead and answer.
I would say it was similar given the majority of runaway calls that we take. We don't get many for 11-year-old children. I would say for children that we get runaway calls for that young, that it wasn't as similar.
It was not as similar.
Yes.
And to be clear, the date and time that the call was first placed to the emergent line for the sheriff's office, do you recall what that time was?
I do not.
In receiving those calls, our reports generated incident reports that record basic information as you input it into the system.
Yes, it is.
And that's based on input that both you're putting in.
Correct.
And also maybe automatic timestamps that a system may generate.
Correct. There should have been an automatic one when the 911 call was placed, as well as I believe when anyone was dispatched out.
And as you're receiving these calls, this is information that you are reviewing real time as you're receiving these calls.
Yes.
And would reviewing that incident report refresh your recollection as to the specific time, the first time a phone call came into the emergent line?
Yes, it would.
The witness 10 through 3812. Ms. Beckel, if you could take a moment to review the specific time the first call came in. Don't read directly from it, but just take a moment to review that.
See, they're not allowed to read directly from it. They can review it and then recall it from their memory, even though they just read from it. They did eat it. They did. Kathy was just saying, be careful with tobacco because when she did it, she realized she had a reaction to it, an allergy. But majority of people said tobacco, yes.
That refresh your recollection as to the time that first call came in?
Yes, it does.
What time and date did the first call to the emergent line come in?
It was January 27th at 18:55, so 6:55 p.m.
And based on the call then being routed to the non-emergent line, are you able to tell what time approximately the call was placed to the non-emergent line?
Yes, can I refer back?
Yes, if that would refresh your recollection.
Thank you. Yes, so that call came in at approximately 19:02, so 7:02 p.m.
So they were back to back. Yeah, Cookie Mom.
Your Honor, we'll pass the witness.
All right.
Cross-examination.
Here we
How are
go.
you?
Good, area.
I'm very good. So from what I'm kind of gathering from you not uncommon to get calls regarding kids who aren't home when they're supposed to be home.
Correct.
And you kind of run the gamut of emotions. If it's a 15-year-old that's not home when they're not supposed to be home, not that emotional or less emotion. And if it's a 5-year-old who may be 10 minutes late from being home, you may get a lot of emotion.
Correct.
And this was an 11-year-old. And so the emotion was somewhere in between the 15 and the 5-year-old.
Yes.
No further questions.
Redirect.
Hey, Your Honor.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Ms. Bethel? All right. Thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
All right, next
Okay,
witness.
so she's done.
Prosecution, can I
Let's
next
see who's
witness,
next.
please?
Yeah. Yeah, we would call Sergeant Rosario Hubble. We may approach and collect these items.
You may, yes.
Letecia glances up at the clock. Apparently she has places to go.
All right, who we got? Who we got? Who we got?
There looks to be like a tea bag of some sort of something in her.
Sergeant
water.
Hubble, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, sir.
Hubble.
Yes, sir. You swear affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I do. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Someone's got to have tripping into the witness stand on their bingo card. It's going to happen on this trial.
Yeah, Dorothy Lewis.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state your name, introduce yourself to the jury, and spell your last for the record?
It's Rosario S. Hubble, last name Hubble, Hubbell.
Why don't we spell Rosario too?
Rosario is Rosario.
Your nickname's Rocky?
I go by Rocky, a little easier than Rosario. Sometimes it's a tongue twister.
I'm not going to have you spell that, all right?
Teach us up
What
to
is your
that grease
occupation?
pile.
I'll apologize first. I'm recovering from a chest cold, as you can hear, so I hope my voice lasts. I may have to
Half the
clear.
room is recovering from that same chest cold.
Okay. So you all understand if I have to clear my throat. I apologize. I work for the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. I'm currently employed as the sergeant for the patrol midnight shift.
And there's some water to your right if you need some.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. How long you been with the sheriff's office?
16 years.
Back in January of 2020, what was your role in the sheriff's office?
I was assigned as the major crimes sergeant for the investigations division.
And how many sergeants were with the major crimes unit back then?
One sergeant. So there were 4 sergeants in the investigations.
Yay! Thank you,
division.
Amy, for becoming a member.
I was assigned the major crimes unit.
Okay. So the major
Did you
crimes
cry,
unit,
Georgia?
what kind of cases do you
No, Shane,
investigate?
she's
What kind of
laughed.
cases do you get involved in?
Okay, major crimes. So
Please
assaults, major assaults, armed robberies, homicides,
Starlight Angel. Hey.
major child abuse cases where there's felony level charges, which would mean that there are severe injuries to a child. My team also takes on cold casework and missing and runaway persons.
Oh.
That last category you just mentioned, is that how you became involved in this investigation?
I like
That
your
is how I became involved.
photo,
Yes.
Starlight Angel.
So back in January of 2020, specifically January 27th of 2020, were you familiar that an individual by the name of Gannon Stauch went missing and was not able to be found?
So I believe the missing persons report came in on the night of the 27th.
Okay.
I was unaware of that.
When did you become aware?
I became aware the morning of the January 28th.
Tell the jury how you became aware of that.
I was at the office working, and I had received a request from the Fountain Police Department saying that they would offer assistance if we needed any assistance with the missing 11-year-old, which was the first I became aware of the report that patrol had taken. It was at that time that I got my team spun up and got them en route to the 6627 Mandan address and started trying to get information on what patrol had learned at that point and where we were. Because I was just getting started when Fountain had reached out to us. I had no idea that we were looking for anybody at this point.
Okay. And so did you stay with the investigation as it progressed through time?
I was the supervisor over that for the entire period, yes.
And so could you describe to the jury how the investigation progressed through time? We talked about it starting as a runaway or missing persons. Where did it eventually go?
So yes, we started out as a missing person runaway case. We then got detectives involved. Detectives started to run a standard procedure for a missing persons case. We went out, we started to do things like ask for anything that might have a sample of Gannon's DNA on it. We wanted to get a comparative sample. And we started worst case scenarioing at that time, if I could say that word, which is part of our protocol to start building that up. As we started to go into our investigation, we started to get a lack of cooperation from Ms. Stauch, who was our reporting party. At that point, we knew that we needed to put more resources into locating Gannon. We were very concerned at this point. We didn't know the who, what, why, and where, but we definitely knew that with an 11-year-old missing for the time period that we had now, things were not going to end well if we couldn't find him immediately. So we started ramping up from that missing person to potentially an abducted child. I reached out to CBI, tried to figure out what they wanted for an Amber Alert. We didn't have any information on that would match an abducted child because we didn't have a suspect. I didn't have a vehicle. And at that point, that's when we started to expand. We started getting our search and rescue teams involved. There were obviously very many community groups that put together teams of people that were out searching. We immediately turned our missing persons runaway team into the entire investigations division. So not only was my major crimes unit, which is 4 detectives, that's all we have. It was the rest of the unit. So all of the detectives that were available were now working full-time on this case.
And as the investigation progressed, were you relying on what the defendant, Ms. Stauch, was telling you, being that she was the last person to see Gannon?
That was our main focus, was what information could Ms. Stauch provide to help us locate Gannon, yes.
And did that lead to several searches and search warrants of 6627 Mandan Drive, the residence where Gannon lived?
Yes.
And did the first search happen on really January 27th when first patrol officers went there and did a cursory search looking for Gannon in the house?
That was the first one, correct, yes.
And did it progress all the way through February?
Yes, it did.
And each time you went out there, did you learn more about what may have happened to Gannon at that residence?
Yes, each search provided more information and helped develop the investigation and help push it further every time.
And were you out there for the majority of these searches?
I was out there, I would say for a few of them. I would say that would constitute majority.
Okay. I want to turn your attention to February 3rd of 2020. Do you recall going out to that residence to do a search on that date?
I do recall doing some work out at the address on February 3rd, yes.
Okay, 6627 Mandan Drive?
At that, yes, that address.
I want to get into all the details of the search, but I want to turn your attention to Gannon's room. Did you have an understanding where Gannon's room was prior to February 3rd, 2020?
Yes.
Tell the jury about what you saw and noticed in Gannon's room on February 3rd, 2020 that may have escalated the investigation to a homicide.
So we had denoted that there was blood evidence in the room, on the walls, on an electrical socket. The blood evidence that was located was very hard to see. It wasn't easily visible to the human eye. This is when we come back to the address, and we wanted to use Blue Star chemical that would give us a presumptive test if we were able to locate blood that's not visible to the human eye. It lights up under blue light. It gives us a luminescence, and it tells us we want to concentrate on that spot. That was presumptive hit for blood. We went to Gannon's room. I specifically went down there. Due to the blood evidence that I could visibly see, it appeared to me that the blood had been cleaned up. I was interested in an electrical socket that was down near the borderline of the wall. There was carpet underneath, and if there had been a large presence of blood, sometimes cleaning that blood, you can push the blood through to the backside of the carpet or into the pad. So the carpet was pulled back. I had a patch that I believed was possible blood. So it was very stiff, appeared to be cleaned. And I had reached out and touched that portion and realized that when I reached out and touched it, I wasn't wearing gloves at the time. So I made a note in my report that I had touched that area, didn't glove up. If we were able to pull any DNA, I'd have to provide a sample.
Sure, go ahead.
But I was able to pull the carpet back at that point and notice that there was saturation through the carpet into the carpet pad, and that there was staining on the cement that appeared all to be from blood stain.
And did that escalate the investigation at that point?
Yes, absolutely.
And was the location of this area that you just described that you touched that soaked through the padding into the concrete, was that directly below Gannon's bed?
It would have been in a location where Gannon's bed would have been, yes.
Now, As a result of this, did that lead you to look for a bloodstained pattern expert to come in and perhaps do an analysis on Gannon's wall and the bedroom?
Yes, that did. It led us to reach out.
And who did you reach out to?
We reached out to Tom Griffin of Bevel and Gardner. I took a crime scene reconstruction class, became certified in level 1 crime scene reconstruction. And my instructor was Mr. Tom Griffin of Bevel and Gardner. And I had went through my chain of command and suggested that Tom Griffin be contacted to see if he would be able to assist in analyzing the scene for us.
Okay. And earlier you mentioned Blue Star. Do you recall talking about the Blue Star?
I remember previously, yes.
And was there a large amount of Blue Star used within the entire residence of 6627 Mandan Drive?
Yes, there was a lot of.
I think this is, let me see. Okay, well, we're getting ready for, yep, the next witness. They're going to be going through all of the photos for the Blue Star in the house, which means anywhere that it glows blue for the preemptive blood test. You guys are going to see the photos.
Blue Star used.
And were you out there for the majority of these searches?
Yeah,
where Blue
Roro.
Star was being used?
For the most part, yes.
And on February 25th of 2020, did you go out with a video recorder and document 6627 Mandan Drive, the entire residence, to kind of summarize where the Blue Star was placed, where
Someone who doesn't know her
evidentiary items
size,
were,
Cookie
where
Mom.
rooms were, and things like that?
Yes, I did head out to 6627 Mandan, and I took a video recorder with me. And due to the complexity of the scene, it's hard to sit down in a report and put down cardinal directions to tell you that this house generally faces north. We're talking about a bedroom that was in the south east corner of the residence. So I used the video recorder to go to that residence, 6627 Mandan Drive, and record the entire residence so that there would be an optical capture of the scene.
And would that video assist the jury in understanding the layout of the house, where the Blue Star was applied, and things of that nature?
I think it would help clarify quite a bit, yes.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
Going to hand you what's been marked as 372. Do you recognize that disc?
I do recognize it.
And what is that disc?
This is the disc that has the video that I captured of the residence.
And does that actually depict the entirety of the video that you took on March 25th, 2020 of 6627 Mandan Drive?
Yes, this includes the entirety of that video.
Move to admit 372.
Defense? For an objection? Exhibit 372 will be admitted.
Okay, I'm going to zoom
Yeah, I
in.
think it's approximately 22 minutes long. I don't know if you want to play it or do you want to take a break first, however the court wants.
Let's take a break first,
All
and
right,
then we
so
can
we're
play
gonna
it all in its
break.
entirety. Otherwise,
Now,
I'm going to zoom in on this.
we actually had just watched this. This was him doing the walkthrough of the house in February. And the condition, it was as is, no Blue Star or anything, just as it was. I'm not going to go through it because we just watched it. But he was the witness. If you guys remember, it just shows the entirety of the house, him walking through.
Boards on the garage floor
Video.
in the area that we're looking at between the broom, the cord, and the empty space on the floor. There were some Blue Star reactions on the floor in this area. They were in the form of droplets. They were not very large. As we move from the concrete to the stairs, there was a
blue star reaction on the stair, showing a potential possible partial shoe impression. That, again, with it being blue star, that reaction tells us it's presumptive for blood. Moving up into the laundry area, the tile in the laundry room did have.
This was his room.
Of note in Gannon's room is the large stain in the southeast corner of the room. The markings that you see on the wall are marking.
Held that residence?
That is correct, yes.
Do you know approximately when Mr. Stauch moved out of the residence?
I don't recall.
That's fine. Those are my questions, John. Thanks.
Cross-examination.
Thank you. Hi, Sergeant. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I'm good. So what date was this video taken?
I believe that was I have to relook at my notes again. I'm sorry. Blanking here from my cold.
Oh, okay. What?
It was late in February.
Okay. What was the date of the actual Blue Star application? At the Drive address?
Searches were several days prior to that.
Okay. And were you able to get any photographic evidence or video of the actual Blue Star illuminating or fluorescing under the dark lights?
I know one of the techs was having a hard time capturing their Blue Star hits. There were several different applications applied. So there were some that were captured and some that weren't. You'd have to speak with the crime scene techs to get a total on that.
Okay, but it looks like in your report, you were there at the house when the Blue Star was applied and that testing was being done, correct?
I was there, yes.
Okay. How many crime scene techs were there when the Blue Star was applied and, everybody was marking on the ground with Sharpies, like here's a hit, here's a hit, here's a hit. Do you remember how many people were there?
For the instance where the Blue Star illuminated in the storage area, which is the one where the Sharpies were used, we had 2 crime scene techs there. We had to pull all those boxes out. So I believe there was myself and I think 2 to 3 other detectives, I don't recall specifically, that were present as well.
Okay. And I just want to clarify, in the storage room, you had some hits that was marked or memorialized by Sharpie marks on the concrete, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it looks like there's a wall of boxes. And then looks like there's some small hits that go right up to this wall of boxes, correct?
Yes.
Since you brought it up, and I just want to clarify, beyond the wall of boxes, there was a sump pump in the corner, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Was there any markings or any hits near this sump pump?
There might have been some smaller hits closer, but it ended at the sump pump.
Okay.
Okay. What are you getting at, dude?
And were these hits?
I'm gonna
so
need
beyond
one
this wall of boxes, there were additional hits. Is your
There
testimony?
may have been 1 or 2 hits. Yes.
Okay.
The trail ends basically at the sump pump, so the boxes may have covered up 1 or 2 or 3 of the hits in that area.
Okay.
There wouldn't be any more than that.
Okay.
But you took all the boxes out to make sure any positive hits for blood through the Blue Star were not covered.
Yeah, the room was empty when they Blue Starred. Yes.
Okay. And there would have been a photograph of every hit or some kind of documentation of every hit?
Yes.
Okay. So what is the Blue Star actually testing for?
The Blue Star is giving us a presumptive for, to get really specific, you'd need to talk to the crime lab about that.
Okay.
But it gives us the building blocks of blood, which is protein and iron.
Okay. So it's not actually presumptive for blood, it's presumptive for the presence of iron.
Well, for the chemicals that make up blood or the elements that make up blood. That's why it's a presumptive.
The
It
main
tells us
one,
test more.
one of the main elements of blood is iron, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know if at any point there had been any swabs taken of some of the blood to test for DNA or blood match identification, anything like that?
On the presumptive hits?
Yes, or before the
Yeah,
Blue Star was done, was there like DNA swabs taken of any of these marks, any of these probable or likely blood spatter to
Yes,
to do testing?
there were swabs taken, yes.
Okay. Were you there at the house when the swabs were collected or taken?
Yes.
Okay. And presumably there was further testing done on those?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you actually collect the swabs or would that have been CSI technicians?
No, the CSI technicians would do that.
Okay.
Come on, Cook.
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Thank you, Seek Justice, for 5 months. My favorite group of people. Mine
I'm
too.
watching another major
Thank you so much.
channel
Hey,
try to
Violet. Yeah,
replicate
rest
my
in
view
peace.
as they're trying to change things around to have it set up.
The jurors have any questions for Sergeant Chapo? Just write it down. I support.
Any jury questions?
Council would retrieve that and approach the bench, please.
I wonder if there's a specific juror that's been more active in the questions. We're going to switch to a different view here, just so we can't see their deliberations.
I've been doing other stuff on Patreon, like conspiracies, talk about what's going on in the true crime community, my feelings, Stephanie. Haven't really done stock because Stauch.
Don't set your notebook in front of the camera.
We do that
so
all the
you'll be able
time
to
on
read all your notes.
my channel.
Okay. Let's see. Amanda, did you have a question?
Hi,
You missed the house
Alicia.
tour. Yeah, it's going to be available on the rewind or on the replay. Girl in Texas, I can't wait till we get to this testimony. All the Google searches. I wonder if my husband's ex-wife is sending me Valentine's cards since I raise her kids. That is literally one of the searches she did on one of the devices. I love how RA can answer questions by sharing others' responses. Yes. You guys have more answers than I do. So a lot of times I just draw your answer out for some people. Is the jury allowed to show emotion? They're not prohibited from showing emotion, but if they were showing a lot of emotion, the judge might ask if they needed a break to be able to contain themselves. I mean, I'd be surprised if none of the jurors' eyes have become moist at some of this testimony as they've sat through this. But they shouldn't be vocal and disruptive or even obvious. At that point, I think the judge would call a break. Okay, I think they're about done here. There they go.
Sergeant Hubble, Blue Star reacts with blood to make it visible. Does Blue Star in any way compromise the subsequent analysis of the collected blood sample?
That would be a great question for the crime lab. I don't know how they rule out what portion was Blue Star. when we go from presumptive to actually a final analysis, a scientist would be able to explain it to you better. They have a very pinpoint specific chemical makeup that they're looking for. When they say something's positive for blood, they mean it's 100% positive after lab testing. So I don't know what their process is. So I couldn't answer if they test out the blue star or if the blue star doesn't affect it at all. I don't know the answer.
Okay. And that answer is helpful for the next question, which I'm not going to ask a lot of because I think it's more properly directed to other witnesses, but I will ask this question. Was the trash bin outside searched for evidence?
The night that the original search was done by my team, Sergeant Kurt Smith was there and present. And I believe he informed me that that trash can was looked at, yes, from my memory.
All right. I will allow reasonable follow-up as to those questions only. Prosecution?
No, thank you.
Mr. Cook?
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Sergeant. You may step down.
Thank you.
All right.
Prosecution,
Who's
call your
next?
next witness, please.
Amanda Van Nest.
Sorry, last name?
Van Nest.
Van Nest.
V-A-N-E-S-T.
Thank you.
Amanda Van Nest.
Who dat?
Okay.
New phone, who dis?
Ms. Van Nest, if you would step forward. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Almost didn't have time to give her the warning.
Everybody's been doing that too.
Okay, thank you.
Will you please introduce yourself to our jury and then spell your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Amanda Van Nest, A-M-A-N-D-A. My last name is 2 words, V as in Victor, A, N as in Nancy, space, N as in Nancy, E-S-T.
Ms. Van Nest, what work do you do?
I am a forensic nurse examiner at UC Health
same
Memorial
exam.
Hospital.
What is a forensic nurse examiner?
So a forensic nurse examiner is a registered nurse that sees patients who are exposed to violence.
How long have you been?
So remember after the Bethel interview, after Letecia switched up her story and said that he's no longer run away, someone came to the house, raped me, and took Gannon. She went to the Bethel interview. She gave them that story. Then she claimed that she was having severe chest pains and she had to get taken to the hospital. They asked her if she would do a SANE exam, which is sexual assault. And she said yes, allowed them to take photos. And then they got a warrant while she was there. They basically detained her, tried to buy time, got a warrant for non-intrusive, non-invasive things. But this is the nurse who dealt with Letecia at the hospital, okay?
Been doing that work.
I have been there and doing that for about 6.5 years.
Do you have some education that allows you to do that job?
I do.
Please tell the jury about that.
So I have my bachelor's of science in nursing and my registered nurse license through the state of Colorado. In addition to that, there was education that was that I took. It was a 64-hour course specific to forensic nursing. And then in addition to that, I did a full-time orientation for 12 weeks.
Do you have professional affiliations as well?
I do. I am affiliated with the International Association of Forensic Nurses.
Do you have particular certifications as well?
I do. I have my SANE adult adolescent and SANE pediatric certifications through the IAFN.
This is Letecia's.
You also attend regular training.
I do.
Tell the jury about that, please.
So in order to maintain my specialized certifications, so my SANE A and SANE P, I have to, losing my words, I have to complete continuing education credits for that. And I believe off the top of my head, I'm trying to think, but I believe it's somewhere in the realm of 30 continuing education credits every 2 years for both of those certifications.
Perfect. Thank you. Have you ever testified as an expert as a forensic nurse examiner?
I have.
How many times?
Roughly 6.
What jurisdictions?
El Paso County.
Okay. Can you give the jury I guess, a scope of what it means to be a forensic nurse examiner, just what you do in your day-to-day work?
Yes. So as a forensic nurse examiner at UC Health Memorial Hospital, because everywhere's a little bit different. But in terms of what I do, like I said, I see anybody who's been exposed to violence. So things that kind of follow under that umbrella are domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, human trafficking, physical assaults, strangulations. And then in addition to that, we also are able to perform suspect evidence collections for law enforcement.
How do you determine that somebody's been exposed to violence?
We are notified either by the primary nurse that's caring for them, or if the patient has reported a sexual assault, we're notified by like the intake at the emergency room when they come in, the techs at intake or the providers in intake of them at that time.
Okay. And I sort of jumped ahead a little bit here, but Your Honor, at this time I've moved for a qualification of Ms. Van Nest as an expert witness as a forensic nurse examiner.
The witness will be so qualified. Go ahead.
Thank you. So when we're talking about the way that you determine whether somebody's been exposed to violence, is that something that you typically will rely on? So other people will collect information, you'll review that information, and then determine a course of action onto how you're going to interact with that person as well?
A lot of times, typically, we get very minimal information from the primary nurse, from the provider, just that, hey, they're here and they're reporting, you know, the specific situation. We would like you to see them. Or, hey, we're concerned that this could be going on. We would like you to see them.
And is it typical for you to rely on that sort of input from other nurses to give you that information?
Yes.
The types of information that you might get to determine that somebody's been exposed to violence, can that be a self-reported exposure to violence, meaning that a person is saying they have been a victim?
Yes.
Can it be that police potentially are bringing somebody in and they are saying this person has been a victim of violence?
Yes.
Are all of those fairly typical interactions or ways that you become involved in a case?
They are.
I want to jump into a particular investigation that we've been sitting here listening to witnesses from for a little over a week now, and that's the investigation into Gannon Stauch, who went missing on January 27th, 2020. Did you get involved in that investigation?
I did.
When did you get involved?
I became involved on January 29th, 2020.
What were the circumstances of you becoming involved in this case?
I was notified by the primary nurse that Letecia had come into the hospital reporting chest pain, and she was also reporting a sexual assault.
Do you know how she got to the hospital?
I cannot recall.
Do your the records that you would have, would it be something that would record that information?
It would.
Do you remember being told that it was by ambulance, that she was brought to the hospital by ambulance?
Yes, thank you.
And you mentioned that you were told that Letecia, as you knew at the time, was suffering from chest pain and dizziness, I think you just said?
Yes, that's correct.
What about her condition? Was it stable, unstable?
It was stable at the time.
What does that mean when somebody's condition is stable?
That there wasn't anything that was life-threatening at that time.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That was deemed by the emergency room provider.
Okay. Do you also rely on information that is reported to you by EMS staff that is, like in this case, traveling with a patient by ambulance to the hospital?
Yes, I do.
What information did you get as it relates to that portion of the information?
At that time, I did not get report from the EMS staff. I had just gotten report from the primary nurse in the emergency room, as they were the ones that had spoken with EMS.
As a forensic nurse examiner, have you had a chance to review any records that have recollections of that information?
Yes.
And what was that information that EMS reported in those records?
To the best of my recollection when going over that, that EMS had reported that she had reported chest pain along with sexual assault.
What about her interactions with people in the ambulance as to would she talk sometimes and then not talk other times?
Best of my recollection, because I'm having a hard time remembering.
That's okay.
I know that she had not spoken a lot about the sexual assault.
Okay. And obviously this has been 3 years ago
Because
now,
there
correct?
was
That
no
is correct.
sexual assault.
If I showed you a particular page, would it refresh your memory as to specifics as to what EMS reported in these records?
It would.
And I may approach tracking with me on Matt. That's going to provide the witness with People's Exhibits 3, 4.
Okay.
So if you could read this paragraph here and tell me when you're done, I'll retrieve that for you.
Yes.
Exactly, poor Linda. Never happened. Yeah, it's the anniversary
Yes.
today, Roro. Hey, Carolina, you too, darling.
Do you remember there being a distinction in what EMS was reporting as to when Letecia would talk and when she would not talk?
Yes. It was reported by EMS that she would speak with them when law enforcement was not present. But then when law enforcement was present, she tended to be quiet and not talk, pretended to be asleep.
No way. Pretended to
Did
be
she
asleep.
also make any statements as to any neurological issues that she may be facing at that time?
Not to me.
Okay, but I'm talking to the EMS that's recorded in those records.
No.
Okay. Is it typical for when somebody comes in under this sort of a scenario that they would be provided a HIPAA form?
Yes.
What is HIPAA, first of all?
So HIPAA is basically the patient's right to privacy to protect their medical records. When they come in contact with me, that is one of the forms that I review with them.
So did you review this specific form with this person?
I did.
And does this basically, are they asked to sign the form at some point?
They are.
Does that acknowledge that they understand what their rights are as far as privacy and that they understand all of that sort of thing?
Yes.
When you went over this particular form with Letecia on January 29th, did she make that indication that she understood her HIPAA rights and signed that form with no problems?
Yes.
Are those fairly important rights that people should be made aware of when they're going in for hospital care?
Absolutely.
Can that sometimes be confusing for people?
It can.
Was there any confusion on this on the part of this person?
You can rephrase the question as to how she appeared.
Sure. Did she appear to have any confusion or problems with this particular form or understanding the gravity of signing a HIPAA form?
She did not appear to.
Do you remember how she signed that particular form? What name? It's okay.
On my medical release form, I believe she signed it Tisha.
Okay, perfect. Is there also a place on that form for the date?
Yes, there is.
Did she put the correct date on that form?
So that would have been myself filling that out.
Okay.
And then
all right.
reviewing it with her. So
Okay. The person that you were having contact with that had gone over this form with you and then signed it, is that person here in the courtroom?
Yes.
Will you please identify her by where she is sitting and what she's wearing, please?
Yes, she is sitting over there and she's wearing a green long sleeve shirt.
You're gesturing over to your right to defense counsel table?
Yes, I am.
And is it either of these two males
Where
or
is
is it
the
female?
right?
The female.
Okay, thank you. You I'd ask that the record reflect that she's identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just want to make sure Mr. Cook was paying attention over here. When you're having interactions with Letecia at that time, was a detective around all the time?
No,
Was there often a lot of time when you were just one-on-one with her?
majority of the time I was one-on-one with her.
When you have contact with a person under these sorts of scenarios, do you tell them what an FNE is, a forensic nurse examiner?
I do.
Is it oftentimes foreign for people to understand what your job is and how you're going to potentially help them?
Yes.
Do Do you have to go through a lengthy explanation of what your role is?
I do.
What does that sound like when you go?
Yeah, so my spiel with a patient is I'm a forensic nurse examiner. I am a nurse that is specialized in caring for patients who have been exposed to violence. And kind of like I explained it before. So these include patients who have been exposed to domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse. I believe I left out elder abuse earlier, strangulation, human trafficking, kind of all of those types of things. I understand that you're here today because of whatever they're there for. So in this case, I understand that you were here because you were sexually assaulted. Is that right? So she confirmed that for me. And so then I go into a little bit further. Here are the different things that I can offer for you. Everything that I do is entirely up to my patient. They don't have to do anything, but it is something that we do offer.
So you're leading right into my next question, and that is, can a person that's in the hospital under these conditions say, you know what, I appreciate you giving me that spiel, I don't want to talk to you?
Absolutely.
Does that happen sometimes?
It does.
What did this person do, the Letecia, when you had contact with her?
She wanted to continue talking with me.
When you said that you asked them to verify the nature of the claim, did you do that with her?
I did.
What did she say happened?
Initially, I, just confirmed that she was sexually assaulted. She had reported to me that that her son was missing because he had been kidnapped by a construction worker that had come into the home and sexually assaulted her.
So the same person, according to her, both sexually assaulted her and kidnapped her 11-year-old stepson.
Correct.
She is Little Red, always.
Do you make an offer to people that are in the hospital under these conditions to perform some sort of a physical examination?
I do.
What's the purpose of this physical exam?
So the purpose of the physical exam, and I can kind of go into all of it, all of the different things that I talk about with them and her options. But the first part of that is to get a history from her as to what happened. So that better allows me to come up and establish my plan of care for medical diagnosis and treatment. The physical exam is next. So depending on what she told me happened, that helps me to figure out where I need to collect evidence. It helps me figure out what areas I need to focus on, in terms of where there could be potential injury, those types of things. And then the third part of that is also medications. So we offer different medications as well to prevent sexually transmitted infections, pregnancy prevention, and HIV.
Is this exam that you're describing, can it be fairly invasive and potentially shocking to somebody that's already gone through some traumatic event?
I would say it can be.
Did Letecia, when you had contact with her then on that day, did she want to go forward with this process? At least express that early on.
She did, yes.
Is it typical for you to go over psychological and social history with a person?
Yes.
Did you do that with this person?
I did.
What information did you learn from her as far as psychological history?
So in terms of her social history, we obtain just a lot of information about the patient themselves, who they live with, who's, kids in the home, are there weapons in the home, drug and alcohol use, is there any domestic violence? All of these different things help to assess for risk factors so that we can figure out, are there additional safety concerns or additional resources that we can offer?
And are you just asking them for their own self-report of their psychosocial history?
Yes.
Do you ever have opportunity to look at other sources for that? Like say, if somebody's seen a psychologist in the past, would you have access to that necessarily?
Not necessarily, no.
So most of the time, is it just self-report?
Photos.
Yes. Did Letecia, when you had contact with her, report any sort of psychological history?
right?
She reported a history of generalized anxiety disorder.
And that's
What does
it.
generalized anxiety disorder mean?
So I'm not a psychiatrist. So my understanding as a nurse, generally, so it's anxiety. So it's kind of that worry that would cross.
It's what I'm experiencing right now. She's so sweet. I'm just making a joke, but anxiety is basically what you're seeing symptomatically appearing in her as a witness right now. She's having anxiety.
Into your everyday life. So it's excessive worry,
Yeah, Chloe.
unrealistic worry that kind of takes over your everyday.
Oh, that's
Does that
interesting,
rise to the
Natasha.
level of a severe mental disease or defect?
Objection foundation outside of.
Sustained, you'd have to lay further foundation for further expertise.
Right, Lisa?
Well, Judge, I think that a layperson under statute, under these conditions, can give their opinion as to that information, which we will get to. I understand what you're saying, though.
Well, she can testify about how she appeared and whether she thought that there was a mental disease or something like that. The problem that you had was that you asked for the severe mental disease, and she said that she's not a psychologist. So I think there's some things that you can get, just not that particular question.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was just saying that the statute does allow that sort of lay opinion testimony.
Ooh,
Did she
Alan
also give
telling
you
Judge
a
Werner how it
description
is?
of any medication that she was prescribed as it relates to this generalized anxiety?
Ew, Kimberly.
Yes, she reported that she took lorazepam or Ativan as
She
needed.
sure did.
In your experience, have you had contact with people that
Jenny?
have that sort of
Bless her
generalized
heart.
anxiety that are prescribed with lorazepam?
I believe I have.
Okay. I guess during this portion of your contact with Letecia at the hospital, were you also in contact with detectives from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office?
I was.
And did you also know that that Letecia was coming directly from the sheriff's office in that ambulance to the hospital for the SANE exam?
After she arrived, yes.
Okay. And this goes towards your interactions and why you're having these types of interactions with her going forward. Were you being told by somebody from El Paso County Sheriff's Office that there was a warrant coming to collect particular types of evidence?
I was.
Search warrant, I mean, not an arrest warrant.
Yes, correct.
What do you do with that information in mind? Is there anything?
Just knowing that that is going to be part of my plan of care for her.
Okay.
Bless her
At
heart.
some point, roughly about 6:45 p.m. on January 29th, did you describe for Letecia two different types of exams? A suspect exam, I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. A suspect exam and a SANE exam.
I did.
What are the differences between a suspect exam and a SANE exam?
So the suspect exam is what he was talking about in regards to the search warrant. So with the search warrant, there are specific things that are ordered to be collected by a judge. So when I was talking earlier about the SANE exam, everything being voluntary, the suspect evidence collection, none of that is voluntary. All of those things are required and stated in the search warrant. In regards to the SANE exam, that is still something that is, or sexual assault exam, that is still something that is entirely up to her in regards to what she wants to do with that piece.
Did she appear to understand from her interactions with you that she understood, first of all, the difference between a suspect exam and a SANE exam?
Yes.
Did she indicate to you whether she wanted to continue to move forward with this process?
Object is the relevance on the site people be Welch and as to approach.
Ooh,
Judge usually
Cordelini's
lets them
pissed.
approach, so they're going to do that now.
This poor, I'm good. Let her
Show
take a
that
breath.
approach. All right.
It is nerve wracking. Yep.
So this testimony so far has been vague. Come off her shot and Judge had and went into expect as a weapon
After you give this exam, this description of there's two different types of exams that are potential in this particular case, and I think I already asked you this, but just to make sure, did she indicate that she still wanted to proceed forward, even though there were potentially two prongs going forward?
Yes.
Yes,
Did
little
she
Roger.
seem to understand to you that what those two different prongs were?
Yes, she did.
She's an idiot who's gotten away with claiming SA numerous times, so many times, even in the relationship with just Al alone, handful of times. And she was so cocky and she's gotten away with it that she even willingly is going through with this exam thinking, yeah, you won't be able to tell, right? You'll never know. They'll never know.
And verbalized to you that she still wanted to go forward?
Yes.
Oh,
Is there a separate place in the hospital that you take somebody under these conditions to potentially collect this type of evidence from a person's body?
Yes.
Is that basically an evidence collection room?
That is our exam room.
Okay. Did you go over the idea with this person, Letecia, about collecting specimens from her body?
I did.
Does that include giving her an advisement of what that means?
Yes, as I do the evidence collection, I let her know, in this case, for example, the search warrant, what it says. So she specifically knows what I'm going to be collecting.
Oh, geez.
Okay. And is that something that a person would sign off on?
That is something that they can sign off on.
Did this person, Letecia, did she sign off on it?
She did.
So many times.
At some point, did she indicate to you that her daughter may be in the waiting room?
She did.
What did she say about that?
She had told me that her daughter was in the waiting room and that she was a good source of support. And so that she wanted her present for when we did the scene exam portion.
Yeah.
Did
Harley into that.
Letecia then leave the exam room and go to wherever she's suggesting her daughter is?
She did. After the suspect evidence collection was completed off of the search warrant, she had gone to the waiting room, told me she was going to the waiting room to get her daughter.
And was the plan, at least the way you understood it, was that she would return and complete the SANE exam?
That is correct.
Did she return?
No, she did not.
What types of evidence did you collect with her? So we've now had the two different things sort of discussed. The evidence collection under from a suspect, basically. Did you collect some things from her at that time?
I did.
Tell the jury what that was.
So I collected buccal swabs, which are swabs of the inside of her cheek for her DNA. I also collected fingernail scrapings, so scrapings from underneath her fingernails. And I also, in addition on the search warrant, collected blood for her DNA, as well as a direct visualization of her head and of her hands with photo documentation.
We'll talk about that visual examination in just a moment. What do you do when you collect buckles?
So I take 2 cotton tip swabs. They look like Q-tips out of a pre-sealed package. And I swab the inside of both cheeks of my patient. After I do that, I put it in a drying rack that's labeled with buckle and time it.
Think about this.
Why do you do it that way?
The Spencer Wilson interview, that infamous interview with her back turned towards the camera. We already heard him as a witness. If you guys remember, he asked Letecia, and he's still, like missing as a runaway. And after she pulled Harley over to confirm she did see Gannon after the hike, she's like, hold on, and she pushes Harley away. That was the day after this. Okay. So Harley still didn't know the story had changed up yet.
That's my process. And that's the way that I always do it. So I make sure that I don't mess up or do anything that
Christina,
hinder that.
Is it basically to just ensure that it's a viable collection of DNA, essentially?
Yes.
Once it's dried, what do you do with it?
Once it's dried, I will package it.
I'm just going to jump through
and
that.
This is taking place in Colorado.
I want to get to the photo.
Exhibit 371.
These are the buccal swabs.
Collection of Letecia.
buccal swabs that you sample that those are kept cold? You know,
with 100% certainty.
Some label on the outside.
Difference on where this needs to be cut.
It up to me.
I remember this. It took a while. She's just
The evidence
confirming
collection kit that I
buccal
collected.
swabs.
He's going to
And
defend it back on the same time. Inside of that, are there also the finger clippings, scrapings
that is correct.
from the same defendant that you collected the buckles on?
That is correct.
Yes, thank you. So we talked earlier about the defendant left after saying that she wanted to go see her daughter in the waiting room, and did she ever come back?
She did not.
Nope, she booked it.
During your interaction with her, do you ask her specific questions about what might have happened, when it happened, if there's any injuries that you need to look at, that kind of thing?
I do.
When did she indicate to you that this sexual assault purportedly happened?
She reported that it happened on January 27th between 2:45 and 4 in the afternoon.
Did she say where it happened?
At her home.
Did she give you any indication as to a potential suspect as to that committed this sexual assault?
She did. She reported it was a construction worker named Eduardo.
Yeah.
It was a construction worker from the neighborhood that she lived in?
Yes.
Did she also describe some interaction of her stepson as she's being sexually assaulted to you?
She did.
As it relates to this person who is assaulting her?
Yes.
What did she say about that?
She reported that her stepson, while she was being sexually assaulted by Eduardo, had jumped on his back to try to get him off of her.
This dum-dum, after that brutal fucking interview with Bethel, having the fucking ambulance come take her to the hospital, she's still talking to this nurse.
Do you ask questions, and I guess this might be pertaining to whether you're going to successfully find potentially DNA samples from a suspect and that kind of thing? Do you ask questions about any bodily fluid transfers, that kind of thing?
I do.
Did you ask this particular defendant those questions as well?
I did.
Such as, did the person that sexually assaulted ejaculate?
Yes.
Did she have any information for you on that?
She did not.
Did she specifically say, I don't think so, when asked if the assailant had ejaculated?
Yes, she did.
Do you also ask whether they've cleaned themselves? So if a sexual assault victim has come in, let me back up. Is it common for a sex assault victim to want to clean themselves right away after being sexually assaulted?
It is.
So do you ask questions about that when you're dealing with somebody that is reporting this type of activity to you?
I do.
Did you ask that of this defendant?
Yes.
Did she indicate to you whether she had bathed or showered since the assault occurred?
She said yes, she had.
So many, Mindy, so many.
What about, do you ask about clothing,
Dynamite.
if they've changed clothing since the assault?
I do.
What did she say about clothing?
That she had changed her clothing and had washed it.
When you were having interaction with her, obviously she'd indicated to you that she had bathed / showered. Did she appear to have bathed and showered?
No, she didn't.
No, she did
Why do you say no, she
not.
didn't?
Just based on my observations, her hair was very greasy.
Look at it.
So it did not appear to have been for her to have showered recently.
Oh, I have to pause. I have to pause. The glory. That is a medical professional's fucking opinion. She sees this shit. She is a nurse. She is a nurse. And on national television in front of everyone, your hair is fucking greasy. It does not appear that you have bathed in days after a brutal murder. She stunk fucking stink. She's gross. That is a medical professional opinion. Okay? Okay. Look at her. Look at her. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Deny it.
Have bathed and showered?
Look at her.
No, she didn't.
Why do you say no, she didn't?
Just based on my observations, her hair was very greasy. So it did not appear to have been for her to have showered recently.
Okay.
Oh.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
That is one of the best moments during this trial.
Okay.
Am I? Yeah, I'm okay.
Do you get a little nervous when you testify? Or does the chair give you trouble?
No, yes, I do.
Okay. During your whole interaction with her, was she able to make eye contact with you and communicate regularly?
She was.
Yeah.
She gave you any indication that would cause you to think she wasn't understanding what was happening?
No, she did not.
That hurt, Mindy. That fucking hurt. You stanky ass hoe.
Does she give you a long description of
motherfucker.
the alleged attack that she is saying that she suffered?
No, she did not.
Okay. Well, when you're going through the, let me pull this particular page up.
Yeah. Hide behind that greasy ass hair, girl. Oh.
The FNE history, do you remember writing that?
I do.
Do you put a longer quote of hers that's a direct quote because of quotation marks as to what she said specifically about this sex assault?
Yes.
Do you remember that specific longer quote as you sit there today?
I would have to look at it again.
Okay. To refresh your memory?
refresh my memory or to be able to say specifically what that said.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
And for the record, this is for.
Go ahead. Quote Letecia. What'd she say to you, ma'am? Tell us, Miss Ma'am. What'd she say? Yo, Tony. Bendy. Oh my God. God, tell us.
And to get it word for word, would it be easiest for you to actually read the quote itself?
It would.
Go ahead and read that particular quote. And let me be clear. Is this a quote that's coming directly from you to her and this is verbatim what she told you?
It is, yes.
Okay, go ahead and read.
I asked specifically for the patient to tell me what happened to her and her body during the assault.
Okay. And what did she tell you in response to that?
So she said, so I don't know any other way to explain it. He was waiting in our home and any other way to explain it. He was waiting in our home and he grabbed me. Well, it was leading up to all of that. He grabbed me and pushed me down in my son's room. I was kind of like fighting back because he wasn't much bigger than me, you know. Then at that point, he just started forcing himself on me and taking off my pants. He never take off my shirt, but I was saying no. And I remember like a little bit of my back started hurting and my head was hitting the floor, the concrete. Then I could tell that he, I could tell that I had to give in, just basically give up.
All right. Let me retrieve
You
that
sit
from
on
you.
a throne of lies.
Yeah. No. Concrete. Okay.
As a result of that particular description, were you able then to do a physical exam of the defendant to see if there were any injuries, such as she said she was hitting her head on the concrete?
That was, it's part of the exam.
Did you in fact do that physical exam of this particular defendant?
I did, according to the search warrant.
Okay. Did you take photographs of that?
I did.
All right, let's go.
I put on there, or I handed you earlier, People's Exhibits 3.
I'm trying to jump through because we got 15 minutes.
Photos that I took.
Of this defendant?
Correct.
On January 29th, 2020?
Yes.
Okay.
Right,
Are they
Lisa.
fair and accurate representations as to what you saw
Yes, and
when you were doing this
definitely.
physical exam of her on that date?
Yes.
All right, move forward. In Ms. Van Nest, there's obviously the two screens there. If it's easier for you as work things out on
What are you
the,
talking
there's a
about?
pointer there in the Is this how she looked on January 29th?
Yes, so
I
this
haven't seen
would
them
have been my
now.
initial photograph. We do an initial photograph to say, yes, this is who we are taking photos of.
Yeah, this is
Are there
Tisha.
any injuries apparent on this particular photo
Letecia Stauch.
that would corroborate what she's saying happened to her 2 days prior?
No,
People's 341. Looks like just a left side profile.
Tisha 2 Chainz.
that is correct.
Any apparent injuries on her at that time that would corroborate what she told you that happened 2 days prior?
No,
People's 342. Is this right side profile?
yes,
Are there any apparent injuries on her right side profile that would corroborate what she told you happened 2 days prior?
no,
344. What is this, the back of the head essentially?
yes.
Did you see any injuries that would corroborate soreness to the back of her head that she was reporting to you?
I did not.
Did you feel any lumps?
I did not.
Any bruising apparent?
No,
Any blood?
no,
In this particular photo, do you see any injuries that would corroborate what she told you occurred 2 days prior?
no,
340, what number am I on? 44? 344, thank you. Just top of head?
yes.
Again, same questions. Any apparent injuries in this photo that would corroborate what she told you occurred 2 days prior?
No,
Any
Yep,
lumps or
Iris.
swellings or blood or
Oh,
bruising?
really obsessed?
none that I noted.
Vampires heal fast.
345. So
She
close up
double
of that
gloved
same
it.
scalp.
No head injury, no bleeding.
Is this a close up of this?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And any injuries noted in the picture of her close up of the scalp that would corroborate what she told you 2 days prior?
No,
346. Is it typical for you to take a look at their hands?
in this case, per the search warrant, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
As we're looking at, I assume these are Letecia's hands sitting on a table in front of her.
That is correct.
Were there any injuries apparent on the backs of her hands that would corroborate what she told you occurred 2 days prior?
I had noted abrasions and a bruise to her hands.
Okay. Those are not necessarily, well, can you see any of those in this particular photograph?
I can see an abrasion on her left hand.
So point that out using that pointer.
They are grown up, but
Is
I'm
it sometimes,
outside
can it be difficult to determine age of an abrasion on somebody's skin like that?
Yes,
Can you tell whether something is more fresh or older, generally speaking?
it gets. Yes and no. It's hard for me. Everybody is so different in how they heal and how injuries present on somebody. So it's really hard for me to say, how long an injury has been there.
Okay. Let's go on to 347. This appears to be right hand with palm down on the desk. Is that right?
That is correct.
Do you see any injuries on this photo that would corroborate what she told you occurred 2 days prior?
I see an injury on her pinky.
Okay, point that out. So sort of the inside along the edge of the nail,
That is correct.
348. What are we looking at in 348?
We are looking at a pinpoint abrasion.
What can cause a pinpoint abrasion like that?
So an abrasion is just essentially it's another word for a scrape. So just a superficial injury. So scraping it on a surface, even scratching, those types of things can cause that.
Okay. 349. I'm sorry, is that 349 that we have? Yeah, okay. Do you see any apparent injuries in people's 349?
I do.
Point that out for the jury and describe what we're looking at.
I also noted this to be an abrasion as well. And I believe she reported that her dog had bit her there.
Okay, so point that out and tell what finger and sort of general area of the finger.
Yes, so that would be her middle finger at the first knuckle.
My dog bit me.
Second knuckle.
Middle finger of right hand.
Thank you. Yes.
Palm up. And then what about the dot on the finger pad of that same finger?
That wasn't an injury that I noted. If it was an injury, I would have noted it in my record.
Okay. And then what's our next number? 350. Thank you. So this now appears to be left hand.
That is correct.
Point out any injuries that you see in people's 350.
I see an abrasion in between her pinky and her ring finger. There.
On the knuckle area?
On the knuckle area on her left hand. Palm down.
351. Is that just a close-up of that?
That is a close-up of the same spot.
352.
That is a close-up with our measurement tool that we use.
So we really documented that one very well.
We do.
353. What are we looking at there?
We are looking at another abrasion, also on the left hand. Here.
So
that
at the base of the index finger below the knuckle, essentially.
Thank you. Yes.
So as we're looking through those photographs, the only potential injuries that you were able to note on this defendant, were they only on her hands area?
That was the only area that was specified in the search warrant. I wasn't able to assess the rest of her body.
Okay. So, but as it relates to these photos, none on her head that would corroborate her head being hit on concrete.
That is correct.
And then the only other injuries are on hands, both front and back.
That is correct.
How many patients have you seen during your career as a forensic nurse examiner?
Roughly 600, around there.
Mr. Allen, could
Yes.
you find a reasonable breaking point in the next 5 minutes?
Yes, absolutely, Judge. How many people have you had leave before they finished with the SANE exam?
Just a handful, not very many.
Have you worked with patients who were suffering from some sort of mental health issue that they could not give informed consent to undergo this invasive procedure?
I have.
How many times has that happened?
I would say a handful of times as well. I don't have a specific number.
Was there at any point in your interaction with this defendant that you had any concerns about her mental condition, that she was unable to understand things?
No, I did not.
Did she give you informed consent
Yeah,
to undergo this exam that she then didn't participate in?
She did.
What happens if you are interacting with somebody that is so severely mentally diseased or defective that they can't give informed consent and they're...
We're going to have our evening recess.
Whoops, I'm so sorry.
Some expertise, she said.
What is your lay opinion as to whether Letecia Stauch on January 29th was sane?
Your Honor, I'm going to object under People v. McNeil. This witness does not have the foundation to say whether or not he's.
Shut up, Tolini.
I understand.
Sorry.
I'm going to allow her to provide her testimony. I think she does have some expertise. She does have some ability to, or has had some ability regarding other patients. So I'm going to allow overruled.
What is your opinion as to her sanity?
I believe she was sane and consentable to my exam at the time that I saw her.
And this would have been 2 days after her stepson went missing and she was purportedly sexually assaulted.
That is correct.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. There's only a couple of minutes and then we're going to go to Bendy's. So I'm going to let Tolini do his cross redirect and we're going to Jade read over to Bendy's.
Cross-examination.
Come on, Tolini.
Do you have any training in forensic psychiatry?
I do not.
Did you try to do any type of mental examination on Ms. Stauch?
No, I did not.
Would you be competent as far as medical training to do any type of mental examination?
I am competent in terms of assessing them for consentability to doing my exam, or if there needs to be further involvement by a provider.
But you're not trained to diagnose mental health issues?
That is correct.
No
further
shit.
questions.
Redirect.
No, I don't think so, Judge.
All right.
Jury
Do
question?
any of the jurors have any questions for this witness?
We might be done for the day here.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. Watch your step when you step off the stand.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have our evening recess.
Woo! That worked out perfectly. Yep, exactly, Roro. She's sane and batshit crazy at the same time, but I'm gonna go back and clip that stanky ass funky moment because that was brilliant. That was fucking brilliant. For your medical opinion, your medical expertise, was she fucking bathed? No, no, she stunk. Her hair was greasier than fucking normal, and I deal with people on a daily basis coming to the hospital with infections and issues all the time. She stunk. But all right, you guys, today marks the 6-year anniversary of the Watts murders. So we're gonna go over to Bendy's. She's gonna be having a great panel of creators to go up and to discuss it. So here is her link. I'm definitely going to, poor Linda. And I need a okay for Cook. I need like an emoji or something for fucking Will Cook's okay. Okay. I think it's Bendy's, Kimberly. Hold on, let me double check. Yes, Bendy's. So I will meet you guys over there. Here is the link. And I will. Oh, you did, Pink Poop. I'm sorry. So if I do not see you over at Bendy's, I will see you here tomorrow. But I hope you do join us over at Bendy's. So have a wonderful night, guys, and I will see you soon.